Hey everyone, Mama, I'm on TV. So yeah, my name is Ivan, and I will talk with you today about rebuilding AI writing assistant. A couple of words about myself. As you already seen, I'm an engineer in Twain, and my background is basically all about engineering and mostly about UI development. I had some backend project as well, of course, but mostly my background, once again, was browser related. Why listen to an engineer on this AI section at all, right? Very legit question. Let me try to answer it. First of all, the model we are working in is just a part of the system. Of course, it's a core part of the system, but just a part. And here you can see the link to the very new article about like emerging architecture for LLM applications. And in this article, I advise you to follow it. It explains exactly how your model is just really a little part and how to build architecture around this model. And software development, at the end of the day, it stays the same. Sorry. Yeah, sorry. And I can see the problem from the very different angle because I'm not an ML expert, and UI is user first, and it was mentioned quite a few times on this conference as well that the problem you are solving, you have to solve from the user perspective, from the customer perspective. And once again, I'm here to help. Don't reject me straight away. What is Twain? At the end of the day, Twain tries to be a good writing assistant. This is our website. You can see, you can choose channel and purpose for your writing, for your text, either LinkedIn or email. And you can just paste any text here, and we'll try to make it really better. Like, for instance, improve introduction, and to show you all these corrections on the site. And also, we will provide you with some scoring, some statistics about your text. And of course, we will explain what is it all about, why you have to correct this, why you have to correct that, how it makes your writing better. And we provide you with some variants for each corrections. And if you apply everything, we hope to make your text really better and looking good. Okay, once again, what is Twain? Twain is... Sorry. Once again, what is Twain? Twain is opinionated assistant, which means we know better, we think we know better how to write emails and texts that convert better. We are now focusing on outreach. We provide corrections, not recommendations. Twain utilizes this famous approach, which Grammarly follows as well. I think you are familiar with it. Twain is real time. For us, it's really important to be real time, and for us, it's really important to be educational. So, folks, how do you think how much time it would take to build Twain from scratch today? Who thinks it will take you a couple of days to build the system from scratch? Fair enough. Weeks? Fair enough. Months. Okay, the only purpose of this slide is to show you that this answer, the way you answer this question today, it really changed for the last couple of months. It's like you answered this question differently half a year ago. I'm sure about it. And we are in Twain. We are a really small team. There are only 10 people in Twain, and we are doing all the things. And we are working on Twain already for more than a year. And the core part of Twain is, of course, linguistics. It's an unusual part of the startup, I suppose. And linguistics at Twain, they are in charge of developing prompts, preparing data, annotating data, and they are really, the linguistics team, they really are the core team in Twain. So this is Twain version 0.1. Who Who knows what it is? Did someone use tools like this before? Okay, this is rule-based NLP processing. You can use tools like Spacey, I mentioned here, to just detect everything that you wanted to detect, basically, if it's really, if it can be detected with a rule in your text. For instance, you can detect the length of the sentences. You can detect the sentences that have 2 or 3 adjectives in them, verbs in them, and so on. So, and first version of Twain was like this. We're just detecting, with this crazy amount of rules, we're just detecting the problems in text, like words really, for example, words I'm happy to, for example, and we were proposing to remove them from the text. But very soon, we understood that it's not enough. Like, for instance, the very bad way of writing is to write really long sentences. And we realized that to have really long sentences and just to detect the sentences and to propose to the user to make them shorten is not enough. We have to generate the shorter variants of these sentences. So we train some internal models. These internal models all are based on BART, out-of-the-shelf open source model from Facebook, and enhanced with, fine-tuned with our annotations. So these models, once again, about our models, they provide detection and correction in the very same model. So for instance, we can detect that this text doesn't have an introduction, and we can generate introduction with these models. And these models work fine for the cases like this, as I already showed you. They can detect that your text, for instance, doesn't have good CTA, call to action, and these models can provide you with a good one. But this worked really well before March this year, 2023. What do you think what happened in March 2023? A lot of things happened. Silicon Valley Bank was collapsed, for instance, but it's not important for us because in March 2023, GPT-4 model was released, and we were the early adopters of this model. And this really changed everything for us because obviously we tried GPT-3 before. It worked fine for us, but the quality of data of generations GPT-3 produced was not just as good as our internal models. But GPT-4 changed everything, really. Instantly, we gathered on real hackathon, and in 2 days, we were able to design from scratch new feature for Twain, this subject line generation for your email. In just 2 days, without any training at all, we released new feature in the production. It was like really amazing. And from that time, we realized that we have to utilize GPT-4 as much as possible. So we started working on it. And because, you know, to make this step aside and to think about why to train an LLM internally, you would suggest something like this, like internal LLM provides accuracy, consistency, and in general quality. You can control the data, you can control the cost, you can control infrastructure by yourself, and you don't depend on the provider. But actually, if you try to think why not to train an LLM internally, you will come with the very same reasons, actually. Like accuracy, consistency, latency, and quality is a big problem for internally trained LLM, and you have to spend a lot of time getting it really getting it there. You can control the data, of course, but to control the data, once again, you have to put a lot of effort because data leaks are very common for internally trained models as well. You can control the cost, but you can control the cost with GPT-4 as well. You can control the infrastructure, but do you really, as a 10-people company, do you really want to control the infrastructure? Do you really want to have a dedicated person who just thinks only about like running and deploying and training all these models? But of course, for me, the only reason not to rely entirely on GPT solutions is to not depend on OpenAI so much. So that's why, how I already mentioned, we decided to enhance Twain with some GPT. How can you do this? Something is really straightforward. You can have new features like I already mentioned, generating subject lines. This is, you have like Spacey rule. Once again, this text doesn't have subject line, and then we generate it with GPT. Then you can go even further. You can say that, for instance, our own model produced some good results, but we can enhance these results and provide some more variants of other tone, of some specific information for user, and you can enhance them with GPT-4 and GPT-3. And you can go even further. You can have GPT-3 solving the detection problem and GPT-4 solving generation problem. So what else to say here? You can go even further and replace whole your system and yourself with GPT, but I propose not to do it and to stay here for just for now, at least for now. Okay, LLM also, they bring their own challenges. They are not diverse, and as I already mentioned, they have inconsistent replies, and I really like this term shifts that was used on this conference yesterday, I suppose. They are pricey, they are slow, and we don't have a lot of dev tools there, and prompt management can be a mess. But I think at least for these four things, price, latency, dev tools, and prompt management, we can do something about it. We can handle these challenges now already quite easily. And let me start with prompt management and show you this tweet. This tweet is from Patrick Collison. He is the CEO of Stripe. We built an internal LLM tool with prompt sharing, discovery, careful privacy control, and configurable models. So Stripe building these tools internally. You are not Stripe, we are not Stripe. We have to use something that are built for us. Yeah, and you really can find this tool outside. We are using such a tool, and I can hardly recommend to use some of these tools, but I don't want to recommend you use exactly the one we are using. We are not particularly happy with it, and it's quite costly. You can ask me in the QA section after the presentation about it, but in general now what's important, we are not very happy, but it dramatically increases the productivity of the whole team, this is for sure. And what to look for in this tool? Of course, you have to look for Playground UI as good as OpenAI's one. You have to look for the tools of prompt organization. You have to look for the tools of prompt versioning, because you want to have rollback and roll forward for your prompts. You have to look for the tool for data presentation, A/B testing, and of course, you want it to support provider's API fully. Then, after you have this tool, you can dedicate prompt building to someone in your team, and they can do it internally by themselves. They won't need any engineering. And at Twain, at the moment, linguistics are building these prompts with these low-code tools and without even bothering us engineers, you know, with deploy something or rollback something. They are doing it internally by themselves. So, and then you are only have one problem, how to write a good prompt. And I don't know if you've seen something like this on internet, but for me, it's all over the place. I think prompt building is a new football, a new guitar playing. It's the thing that everyone can do. Everyone knows how to do better, and no one really knows how to do. Our answer is something like this. Yeah, sorry. And one again, another thing to mention. And prompt building, as it was mentioned, really, and I'm totally agree, as was mentioned on this conference, is something to do with alchemy. And this is from a paper that came out, I think 3 years, I think a week ago from Google, from DeepMind, about prompting optimization, so-called meta prompting, when they ask one LLM to optimize prompts for another LLM. And this other LLM that was optimizing these prompts came out with this instruction, which is great. You know, take a deep breath and work on this problem step by step. I would love to, all of us, to have these instructions to work. These instructions, I mean, they work for humans as well, and I would love for someone to have such instructions applied to myself, for example. And our solution for prompting, it's really a loop, right? You have to firstly collect your input data, then you have to design your output data, like you have to define what you want to do with input. Then you have to prompt based on this data, check example by example by example, and then you're evaluating, and then you're repeating everything again. We came out with this like advice about prompting as well, like try to start with more generic approach first. If you have like 100 cases which you want to fix with a prompt, start with more generic approach. Try to fix 90% of them, and then focus on the edge cases. Edge cases can be covered also with so-called few-shot learning, when you can say to the LLM, exactly, don't do exactly this, and show it by examples what not to do. Then you have to optimize these prompts. And the key to optimization is really, first of all, generating as little output as possible. And this is because I was talking so much about these spacey rules, about these rule-based models, about this detection. Detection is key, for us at least. It's for sure the key. You have to have this detection of what text you want to cover, or you want to touch, you want to change with LLM, but try to detect it without asking LLM to detect it. Just ask it to generate another version of it, or something like this. And use, of course, if you can't use nothing but LLMs to detect, use at least less big LLMs like GPT-3, for instance. It works much, much quicker than GPT-4. And of course, collect feedback and tune your models. And A/B test them. A/B test is a really great answer to a lot of confusions. Okay, wrapping up, and couple of words about future. How we look into the future and how we think Twain will change in the nearest future. First of all, there are a lot of room for optimization, even right now. We want to have this tiny router, thin router model to distribute all the calls to our API. We want to have it as soon as possible because it affects latency dramatically. GPT, we think that GPT will stay there at least for creative tasks for a long time. GPT is here to stay not only for prototyping, for hackathon-like tasks. We think right now that GPT will stay for a long time. Once again, we want to train more inside just to cover these little small cases where GPT isn't really necessary. We will use streaming, of course, OpenAI, just to make UI more responsible, more responsive, sorry. And we'll use smart caching. At the moment, we use very, very straightforward approach to caching, and we will try not to worry about these new big tools that will change the world every day, right? And it's really important to mention that, like, these tools, GPT-like tools, there are a lot of arguments arguing about like what the tools are all about. Is this like a new version of search, a new version of human enslavers, new version of whatever? For us, it's a great R&D tool, and we are really, as Twain, as a startup, we're really in a soft spot where we can have our data inside, where we can have all development inside, where we can release new features very quickly, where we can research. And then based on this research, based on this data we keep inside, we can train our model that don't rely on GPT or OpenAI or every third-party LLM at all. And this is great. I like with this topic, I encourage you, if you are not trying this in your companies for R&D, at least for R&D cases, try it. It works great. It provides really great results, and it helps us a lot. Thank you.